Yeah, these are the so-called woods that I was telling y'all about that I talk about behind the scenes. Look at it real good, because we found out today that there are coyotes, a male and female coyote that is in the back of this big old bush. And when they go to mating, it sounds like a monster, like some kind of monster is in the thing. Speaking of monsters, I'm going to tell you a story that happened in Memphis over the weekend. And then I'm going to tell you how somebody used an error to end up getting a PR campaign. Y'all, come on, it's time for us to take a walk, man. It's time for us to take a walk. Okay, in Memphis, over the weekend, an 83-year-old woman was evicted from her home. She was evicted for not paying taxes, property taxes. Now, in the state of Tennessee, if you're 65 or older and you make less than $37,000, I'll say $38,000, then you are exempt from paying taxes for the rest of your life, as long as the property is in your name. So they evicted the woman, and then all of a sudden, somebody ended up calling a friend, a city councilman, and then the city councilman and attorney found out that the woman had paid her rent, and then they called their supervisor, not the sheriff, not Flora Bonner. They called Anthony Buckner. You know who Anthony Buckner is. He's the one that's got the Republican and the Democrat logo, and he's running for sheriff for Shelby County. So he ends up getting involved, and he told them, hey, y'all go on over there and put that stuff back in that house. Yeah, and they did. Just so happened while they were putting the stuff in the house, a TV crew was there to take pictures of them putting the stuff back in the house. They was putting it back in the house, and stuff like that. So, that's what happened. Yeah, they put it back in there. Took pictures and photos of themselves standing next to each other as they, as her personal belongings was slewed all over the yard. And then they left. Now I'm gonna tell you something, because I used to email and communicate with a Republican, not a MAGA, a Republican named David Lanier. David Lanier was one of the best Republican trustees that I have ever met. David Lanier, all you had to do was email him and, tell him that the person was on the tax sale and that he worked with the city of Memphis. He was a county trustee. He worked with the city of Memphis to make sure that the person was able to stay in their house. He came up. He was one of the most effective trustee. Now, I ain't saying MAGA now. I'm saying Republicans that I had ever met in my life. Now we don't know. I don't know who it is. I know it's her name is Newsom or something like that. But anyway, so let's go back now. For those of you who don't know, we're gonna get a crash course on how tax sales are done. See, when they sue you for your property, they don't sue you individual. You in a batch, because they take all those, in Tennessee, it has to be 5 years that you didn't pay property taxes, and then they turn around and they put your house up for the tax sale. So it's not just you personally. Even though you may get a bill, it may have delinquent tax, the city of Memphis or Shelby County government versus the tax delinquent so-and-so, and then they got that little number up on it. So that's you. Now, I have stopped the tax sale. When somebody I know, the house was getting ready to be sold before the court date, before the hearing of the tax sale, before it went to court, I asked the court to set aside the tax sale, and I gave a legitimate reason why, and they stopped it. And the city of Memphis contacted him and made some arrangements, and that's how he was able to keep his house. See, because they couldn't just set aside him, they had to set aside the whole tax sale. So that stopped it, okay? So then now once they do that, and they go through the process, they're able to sell the house. They may have put it up for August, and then it comes up, the eviction comes up in October. But you still have time to pay the taxes, you know. Even if somebody obtained your home through a tax sale, you can still buy it back on the bad taxes and any repairs that they do. You have a year. So now this woman, 83 years old. Now, if it was somebody like me or somebody below that, it wouldn't have been nothing. But it's just particular that they putting a woman's stuff back in at 83 years old. Now, all of this generates a news media. Yeah. Something strange, ain't it? But then it gets even better. See, they didn't call the sheriff, they could have called the sheriff. They called, just so happened they called Anthony Buckner. Yay. See, the Republicans got a game for y'all, but y'all don't even see it. See, they got 2 Republicans running for sheriff. Then they got Anthony Buckner, who's a Republican a MAGA running for sheriff as a Democrat. So either way, it's a win-win for him because of the simple reason. Even if the Republicans lose, they're going to win. They're going to win with Anthony. Or they're going to win, you're going to get one of them guys. Anthony been in law enforcement for 30-some years. He's the deputy. And yet, you have never heard anything good that Anthony have done. In the sheriff department, you've seen Floyd Bonner, but you have never seen Anthony as visible as it is this. Because Anthony needs some PR, so he used the sheriff department to get the PR, the campaign PR that he really needs. So anyway, Anthony Buckner tells them, hey, put that latest stuff back. And the news media and coverage says, the deputy Anthony Buckner told them to put that woman furniture back. Well, see, they had to. Because, see, they didn't pay the private people the money to put it back. They just paid the private people, which is 4 hours, which is required to put it on the curb. So now, let's see, we're looking at possibly the city or the county, because it came out that the woman had paid her taxes now. So it could be the city of Memphis could be liable, or the county could be liable. And if the sheriff had left her stuff there on the curb, the sheriff department would be liable. That's a bad stain. Horrible. So they put it back in a house, and they took photo ops of them holding hands and smiling, and because they gotta make it look good for Anthony. Okay. But see, having something like that is an emotional duress. She's 83 years old. We don't know her medical condition. That's a very stressful thing. And they put the stuff back in the house, and no one said anything about her putting the house back together. No one talked about the emotional and mental status that went along with all that stuff that went on. I noticed didn't nobody call the city of Memphis to check her vital signs to see if she was all right. She was okay. That did her blood pressure go up? That she could be so vulnerable to have a stroke? Oh no. That was not the point. The point was it was a photo op for Anthony Buckner and the sheriff department. Now, we ain't seen this before. Before you go to judging and saying, well, Samantha, you know what? You shouldn't be saying that and stuff. Yeah, well, we gotta find something similar to what Anthony did. to what's going on now. Oh, come on now. You know. What's that guy name? The Kirk guy. Yeah. Trump took a situation and he's running with his death. He's taking a bad situation and running it for the cause. Yeah, that's what he's doing. He's, the man got shot, assassinated. He was already racist. And now he's saying, hey, he died protecting America. We shall honor him. And so he had to run with it. Gave him a funeral, a half mask, and at the Capitol, and all did, and trying to get a coin and trying to get a statue, because he's in a bad situation with the American people, so he needs something to make him look good again. Or better yet, what about when young Dolph died? And how the city councilman at that time was J.B. Smiley. I had so much respect for J.B. Smiley until that moment. See, J.B. Smiley took young Dolph's death and he erected a street and took pictures of it, the plaque being up there smiling. He's a nice young man, nice looking young man. Very ugly deed that he did. And then what's so bad about it is that young Dolph was there for a turkey drive that he normally do annually. You don't hear J.B. Smiley talking about helping young Dolph turkey drive continue. Or better yet, you didn't hear J.B. Smiley before he died about the young turkey drive. See, when you don't know your rights and you don't know the real deal of a story that is about that, see, stuff like this can be played on you, and it makes it look like that person is really good when they're using somebody's bad situation. Now I'm sure they're going to evict some more elderly people. They're going to evict some more young folks. They're going to evict a whole bunch of black folks and red folks and green folks. But no, this is election time. And by any means necessary, folks going to be doing whatever they need to do to get. That's pulling a cat out of a tree, to putting somebody's body over some electrical wires and then act like they turn around and save them. You got folks that are being exposed, they are being exposed for their true fruit. But if you don't understand or you don't want to hear the fruit, you're going to fall for it. Now, see, somebody going to come back and say, Samantha, you shouldn't be talking like that. Because that we blacks, we need to stick together. No, black folks stick together. Coonberries, no, you don't stick with them. They are selling you out at whatever cost. And then you sitting up here talking about black unity. You can miss me with that. I'm not into coon unity. I'm into black unity. And when somebody starts showing me that they would trade you in for 2 nickels and a dollar, yes, I don't do that. So yes, I like I said, and then now the news media picking it up and saying that Anthony Buckner was the star of the show. He saved this woman from being evicted from her house. The deputies did that. I'm sure that woman was telling them, I paid my taxes, and probably showed them. But like for them to say at the beginning, they said, well, ma'am, it ain't nothing we can do. So she had to been telling them before they start calling somebody that she had paid her taxes. See, because you got to listen, you got to read the thing. They said that they was talking to her and they told her, ma'am, it's nothing we can do. Well, if it was nothing you could do at the beginning, what makes you think that it was something? Why didn't you, before you start doing that, why didn't you just call who you knew in the beginning, and that would have saved the thing? No, they didn't want to hear it. They want to hear it. They didn't want to hear it. That's how that went. They did not want to hear it. And she probably was getting upset and she was crying and stuff, and somebody finally listened to her and called somebody in the city council, not the court, the city council. They didn't call the county, so I'm betting it was the city. And that's how they found out. And then when they found out that she had paid, that she shouldn't have been on that tax thing, then now they had a problem. They had this woman stuff all on the street. This 83-year-old woman, she upset, had all her stuff on the street. Now all of a sudden, you got to fix what you did, see. You got to fix what you did. And the private industry said, no, we ain't finna get involved with this. We put our stuff out. They just probably stopped it mid eviction and left. They did their 4 hours and they left. It's not their fault. They're not liable. And then that left the sheriff department and the city of Memphis on the hook. So they can't come out that the city of Memphis made a major error that caused that woman to be put out. Oh, no. They couldn't do that. So what they did was they called some news media people and made it seem like that they were so caring and loving that they found this money, that they found this error and stuff, and oh Lord, they saved this woman's house. If I was the family, I'd be looking for me a lawyer. I sure would. I sure would. I sure would. I would be looking for me a lawyer as sure as my name is who I am. Because you know what? The city of Memphis is being ran very rough. Yeah, again, I have not expressed that y'all still paying. Y'all tags now are $130 where everybody else in the state of Tennessee pay less than $30. Not $35 at the most. Y'all light bill is out the chain because they adding fees and stuff on there to make it where it's impossible to pay. Your rent is high. You got folks that's being wrongfully evicted. You got a corrupt court system. You got it's ran so corrupt that's how Trump gonna work it in. See, y'all trying to y'all get mad when somebody tell you the truth, whether they live there or not. You get mad because black folks don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to hear that they own people are selling them out. They still believe in that 1970 pride stuff, but we got black pride. Black pride left a long time ago. Y'all not even together. I tell everybody here, if you ever want to go into politics against a Republican, take your ass to Memphis. They ruthless in politics. They ruthless. And then you can get to see how the game is really played. Like I said, Anthony, you know what? I think Anthony won a piece of shit award yesterday. I promise you. It had me so upset last night because, like I said, they should have admitted that they did wrong. The city should have admitted that they did wrong. And they shouldn't have had no media coverage of that woman's house. And they should have just went on and did what they needed to do to put her house back together. And in fact, I think the city should pay for her to have her house put back together inside. Now that's too much like right. And of course, what they gonna do, they plagiarize it, and then they gonna turn around and the woman gonna have to have family or friends or whatever to put her house back together, and whatever medical, we don't even know what kind of medical condition that's gonna go from there. But again, they are no more, they are worse or even equal as that Trump that's sitting up here that's using a death to make a situation. If that was my mama, I would told them, get their ass off my put her shit back and I would have told the truth. Oh, it wouldn't have been on the news. I would have told the truth. But see, that's how they doing it. They turning a bad error that they made at the city and the sheriff department, and they using it so that when you go to the polls and vote for him, you're gonna say, oh, I remember when that Anthony helped that 83-year-old woman. But now Samantha ain't gonna let you do that. Samantha gonna tell you that Anthony Buckner had a legal obligation to put her stuff back in the house, just like any other processor that does that. They have a legal obligation to put your stuff, especially when it's in a wrongful eviction or foreclosure. They have a legal obligation. That's why they are licensed and bonded. They're licensed and bonded. They bonded. That's for a reason why. I go after the county bond. You know they gotta have a bond, but they probably self bonded. I go after their bond because they did something wrong. If she told them that that her taxes were paid, and you know old people keep receipts. Old people keep receipts. That's where I keep receipts. They should. What difference when they did it, when they first started on her house versus in the middle of it? All they had to do was call somebody and find out if that was true. It wouldn't have taken but maybe 15, 20 minutes. Come on now. But no, they didn't want to hear it. And they probably didn't want to hear it because she was an old black lady. They didn't want to hear it. They did not want to hear it. And then I guess she must have got upset. And then somebody had a heart and finally did it and found out the truth. Like I said, when you don't stand up, when you don't fight, when you don't know your rights, this looks like a great story for the news media. But in reality, it is a nightmare with a lawsuit tag. Y'all better start knowing your rights, because y'all think that these black leaders in Memphis, many of them are there trying to help you. They have sold you out, and now they know how much the price is, and now they finding out that little chump change that they took or that little thing that they did is not gonna help them. And now they trying to sit here and call themselves saving Memphis. And you got so many. I'm saying, before you start voting on black, you better start looking at their record, because a lot of them sold y'all out, and Anthony Buckner will be the next one that does it. Think about it.